It is currently 2:40 p.m. on March 3rd, 2024. This is inside of my bedroom. So I want you to pay attention to you see my shadow? This is light that's coming from the trajectory of the light is going in this direction. This is why you can see my shadow. And my shadow this is speaking to what is magnified light. And you can tell by the trajectory of that shadow, okay? This is engineered light. This is another layer of light. So you can also see the pattern of the blinds. It's as though the light is shooting off and it's going across the wall. This is the blind slats that you see. If you heard that little boom outside, the entity is with simultaneity to my movement. Okay, as I move closer to the blinds and started doing this, immediately a sound is created. That's demonic. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct of with simultaneity to my physical action or activity on a communication device, creating audible activity in the specific environment. That's what that noise was for, okay? And that's entirely demonic. Demons do that. This demonic behavior, this demonic targeting system is underway by the state of California in concert with the people of the state who live at the crime scene, and they're engaged in ceaseless group stalking and monitoring. It's ongoing surveillance by an entity. So that's what that sound was. But I want you to look at the first level. This is a level of engineered light, and then this is just more concentrated engineered light, okay? This is inside of my bedroom, and what I want you to pay attention to is the fact the other method that you saw in the previous video, that was just a method of engineered light. It's all impossible, never occurring, not sunlight, having nothing to do with that light source that remains in alignment to me at the property, at the venue, okay? This is just a method of keeping engineered light all around me, and it's entirely demonic, okay? This is behavior that is straight out of it's straight out of hell. Okay, so I'm not going to mince words. This is satanic behavior, and it's serving a criminal purpose. And also, you're going to, with regard to what is the purpose, it's analyzing demented behavior that's in operation by a government that is a violation of the constitutional and human rights of an American citizen. So this demonic behavior, it's legally relevant because it's being practiced by a government that doesn't have a right to be in the private space to violate the constitutional rights of an American citizen. Okay, that's just how it works in America. So I want to be clear, this engineered light is present because criminal monitoring is underway. And where this engineered light is present, there are people that are remaining all around in the path, that is group stalkers that are engaging in monitoring. That is what group stalking is about. Where you see it, it is the prima facie case of federal group stalking and monitoring. And it is also telling you that it's the government. It's no one person. It's the public entity. And the public entity is doing it with everyone. Okay? And what I want you to pay attention to is what you're going, first of all, pay attention to this light. You see this, it's double. This is the same thread. You're looking at what is entirely engineered light. It's magnified, and you can also see that it is duplicated. But this is just one thread. The light is coming through and it's magnified inside, and it's magnified. And it's also different. Nothing other than what you saw in the previous video. That was just a method. The entity is engaging in the ongoing maintenance of engineered light. This is stalking with light. That's what you're witnessing. This is what I'm breaking down. This is the pattern of conduct. And this stalking with light behavior, in addition to what is stalking with light, the maintenance of a light source. The maintenance of the light source that remains over me, as I've documented, which is out of conformity with the natural environment. The maintenance of a light source is how an entity is stalking with light. The maintenance of engineered light all around you is the demonic method of stalking with light. The entity stalks in the path. The entity stalks with audible activity, just like you heard as I made a new movement with simultaneity to, or immediately thereof. Noise is always activity. That's the technical term for it. Audible activity in any form, okay? And that's exactly what happens, and that's demonic, okay? And it's speaking to real-time knowledge. This is speaking to what is an ongoing sex offense. The entity is placing you under surveillance, and they're doing it while you're in the private space. They're doing it while I'm physically indisposed, as I do anything inside of my home, inside of the bathroom, inside of the private space of any third-party facilitating venue. So I want to be clear, even when you are out at a facilitating venue, and I'm not going to use the word public because you're talking about what's a specific formula for prosecuting a public entity, and this is recognizing the illegality of the state's behavior, of the state system. So you are at a facilitating venue. Okay, so when you are at any third party or state facilitating venue, that is where the pattern of conduct is underway and where the target individual is at, the pattern of conduct is underway. I'm teaching you how to understand and recognize the P.O.C., the pattern of conduct, the elements that remain present. Where you are at any third party or state facilitating venue, the bathroom, the restroom, remains a private space where the entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring. That's the sex offender. That is the government. The entity is a sex offender. Inside of the private space of the targeted individual, the entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring, engaging in the demonic behavioral pattern of stalking with activity creation with real-time knowledge of what I do while my clothes are on, while I'm taking my clothes off, while I get in the shower, while I wash and necessarily touch my person in order to do that. Very private, very personal activity. It's a matter of public information. And this is an admission as to what the entity is doing. It would never happen under any circumstances. This is an admission. And the fact that it's also not happening while I have already documented and maintained a record of where the entity wants to conduct itself as though it's the natural environment. Well, then if that's the natural environment at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, where the entity maintained a light source directly over me and the Ontario Police Department, who were heavily stalking me in the morning and into the evening and all night, just like Los Angeles Police Department, by the way. Well, then if that's the case, then there would never be, that's also, again, this is also suggesting that it would never, ever be here. The light source would never, ever be seen at the property anywhere. It wouldn't be rising over the mountains in alignment to my living room. It wouldn't be outside of my office window during the day when I'm at work. It wouldn't be adjacent to building 1810 at where it remains there for 6 hours. And it wouldn't be in the evening. You wouldn't see it at all if that was the natural environment, as I documented at just one venue, because the pattern of conduct has been documented for a series of years. And I have shown what the entity does, the same exact asinine behavior. All right. And it is in conflict with not only science, but common sense. Okay, the entity is maintaining a light source at one address, and all I did was I documented the fact that it remains in its zenith from, it doesn't matter how long, if I stay from the beginning of the day, and I had the ability to do that because I was literally homeless because this entity invaded my home, my personal space where I was living with the entity, a third-party group stalker going by the name of Tracy Banks. All right, threatening my life and physically attacking me. All right, so you're talking about being homeless as of 2018. So when I was homeless as of 2018, I witnessed what the entity, that's when I saw up close and personal what this entity was doing. And it's absolutely impossible. By the way, I never would have even noticed it if I stayed inside because I was staying inside and going to work and minding my business. Okay. Right. And you would assume everybody else is doing that, and everybody is not doing that. I was subject to criminal surveillance for years. And then when the entity started attacking me and started defaming me and started engaging in criminal summoning of the Upland Police Department in the specific environment, where, by the way, the entity was maintaining a light source over Upland, California. Again, another example, heavily documented as well. It would never be present at all. But again, you know that this isn't even sunlight. It's engineered light. All I'm doing is I am totally devastating, removing what is the very false illusion presented to you. It is not the natural environment, and it is impossible that it could be the natural environment. If that's the sun, if you want to argue that the sun remains stationary over invisible in its zenith at one address where you remain all day long, which is to say that everybody is seeing the sun in its zenith over them no matter where they're at for the duration of the day, which you already know on its face, that's incorrect, that's false. All right. But even if you want to posit that, if you want to contend that, okay, then that means that you're talking about what would be necessarily present here at Alvarado Gardens and also present at Woodside Senior Apartments in front of the door, because I was inside of apartment 51. I didn't move to the front of 7-Eleven on Vine Avenue. I didn't go to G Street and get that intersection over there. I stepped right outside of Tracy Banks's apartment, right in front of door 51, and right above my head is where you see that light source, and that's where it remained all day long. And that's why also you see the group stalkers that are the Ontario Police Department. You look at that light activity, you see their shadows. The light source is directly above the apartment at 9-something in the morning. This is documented on July 3rd, 2020. The entity has engaged in an ongoing pattern, and this is what's engaging in here at Alvarado Gardens, and it is serving as what is the admission by an entity that's surrounding by evidence that it has no idea to, it has no way of even having, has no way or knowledge to even defend it. So the entity is engaging in, but it's also speaking to, it's not just ignorance. It's not just being totally ill-equipped for the exposure of a criminal system that's satanic at its core. It's also speaking to what's an obsessive intent to continue. All right, this is an obsessed stalker, and this is a violent sex offender. Okay, that knowledge and creating simultaneity with simultaneity, my physical movements and anything I do on the phone, that's a sex offender that knows when my panties are going down. And they're very, very, very concerned about what I'm doing in the restroom. They're maintaining engineered light, and this is speaking to that. The entity is engaged. I want you to pay attention to the light activity while these demons show hostility, because it's absolutely impossible. You're witnessing the demonic. I mean, it's going toward the prosecution of the people. So I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to let you know that's a violent sex offender while you see this impossible light activity. It's a confession. It's an admission. That's legally how it's relevant. It's a phenomenon. And the fact that the phenomenon is occurring, it is serving as what is literally the admission that federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. Federal group stalking and monitoring is that which is an exceedingly violent sex offense, which, by the way, a public entity engages in with those under the age of majority. Many, many, many reasons why you are removing children from the custody of group stalkers who are committing their very surface lifestyles to make it appear as though this is normal society. No, it's a secret society engaging in what are tormenting and targeting American citizens, and it's supposed to occur under the guise of normalcy under everyday life, and it's absolutely not, as I'm showing you that. All right, so this is serving as what is an admission by the sex offender, an admission by the obsessed stalker. That is a public entity that's group stalking with the people. It is, by the way, 2:51 p.m. where you're seeing this engineered light. And this is, again, want to reiterate, this is nothing other than another method of the same pattern of stalking with light. Stalking with light is both the admission that criminal monitoring is a prima facie case established, that criminal monitoring is underway. And you know that criminal monitoring and group stalking is underway by a public entity, no individual person. Where you see one person engaging in the pattern of conduct, it's telling on everyone else. They're not doing it by themselves. They're doing it on behalf of the state. And where you see the state engaging in the pattern of conduct, the state is engaging in the pattern of conduct in concert with the people of the state. Where one aspect of the entity is acting, the entity is acting together. There's an ongoing conspiracy. They're acting as one entity. All right. And that conspiracy is not some far off, unsubstantiated theory. This is all speaking to what is the evidence that exists as a record as to what is going. It is proven. And it is essentially, it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It is beyond a reasonable doubt that based on the phenomenon as I've captured it in all of the areas for the prolonged period of time that I have with regard to the outright stalking by the police departments that I've documented, many of them engaging in the same exact behaviors, in the same exact phenomenon, that's beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? And they're doing it, and the existence of that phenomenon is what solidifies that evidence. All right, it's beyond any coincidence. There's no randomness there. It is already established beyond a reasonable doubt. And I'm also showing how this is done in concert while the entity is admitting, because this is legal, this is magnified light. Remember, there's only one thread here, right? So this is magnified light. In the same way that you see multiple shadows, I just want you to pay attention. All right, this is serving and that's just one layer, because this is engineered light up here. This is all engineered light. There's layers of engineered light. And it's also showing up on the, you can see my arm up here. This is engineered light that is being dispersed into the apartment. All right, at all times. All right, it's a sex offense in that the entity is molesting my body, touching me with its criminal purpose, with its weapon of criminal monitoring. It wants to touch all over my person, wants to invade my space, all right, and wants to engage in what is ongoing ceaseless monitoring while I'm physically indisposed and engaged in physical personal and private activity inside of the private space. Where the public entity, by the way, to be frank with you, has no business engaging in what is surveillance while my panties are down and what's going on in the bathroom inside of my private, have no business. And that is a level of damage and harm that has never been contemplated. But justice requires you will find an amount that does justice. All right. So I want to be clear. It's 2:53 p.m. This is P.O.C.